committed themselves to making the jump.
Some people can't succeed because the Rebbeinu Shalom makes them having limiting beliefs.
Yitzchak, Yaakov, they all became very wealthy people.
Could be your wife, could be your parents. You could have a tremendous relationship with your parents, but you don't have to discuss with your parents money.
Git Gelt, the wisdom for your will.
Good morning, Reb Sholom. How are you? We're on the air.
Good morning, Reb Chaim. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, gewaldig. Before we start, I understood that you had some things that you wanted to discuss from the last episode, right?
I did. So you were talking at the last episode about, in order to move forward, to make that jump, you have to create the situation where it's a do or die situation, where it's a necessity, not a luxury, that and that engages your passion to just really make it happen. And I think that's fantastic. And I think that's a tremendously important yesod. You shared the story with your mentor about the furniture and the lady who said that, she wants to get new furniture. And he said, as long as you have the old furniture, you're not going to feel driven to get new furniture. I've been thinking about, since we discussed that, is that at the end of the day, it seems to me like it's a bit dangerous to give us this general advice. Because, I've seen people who have tried this, who've read the books, who've spoken to coaches and so on, and they've committed themselves to making the jump, and they put themselves in a situation where they literally have no furniture and everything is put on risk. And you know what? It doesn't work. They're not matzliach. And you might tell me, well, they just got to keep trying or whatever. But at the end of the day, not everybody's cut out for that. And when I hear your thoughts, you're making kind of a general statement or giving general advice, but how do you cater that to individuals so that the right people hear the right guidance and the right advice?
Okay, very good question. And by the way, you would say that you know people. I also know people, and I'm one of them.
Okay.
So I have first-hand information, and you know the story that there was a Yid that was, he was laying in bed, not doing anything, meyuash, he didn't want to get up, and that's a brochen mensch, he didn't have the courage to do what he was supposed to do, and it was very meyuyash, as they say. So a Breslevi comes to him and tells him, what's going on with you, brother? Why are you still in bed? Get up, start doing something. He said, no, I'm over. Nothing works for me. I don't think I'm going to ever get to anything, to accomplish anything. So the Breslevi tells him, I don't know what you're talking about. The Rebbe says, Ein Shem Yush Ba'olam Klal. How can you be Meyush? There's no such a thing in the world as disparity. Get up and get your act together. So the Yid tells him, what? The Rebbe says there is no such a thing as Yush? Are you out of your mind? Get out of my house. I don't want to know you anymore. He says, why? What did I do? He says, because there's the only thing in my life that I still had was the Yush. You took that away from me as well. So I agree with you 100% that a lot of people, when they hear this message, get very, very disappointed because the only thing that worked for them and the only thing that they settled in was the Yush. And now this Chaim Ekstein comes and tells them there is no such a thing. You're crazy. The Rebbeinu Shalom wants you to succeed. Get your act together and start succeeding. It didn't work until now. Who says that it's not going to work from now going forward? A lot of people can be very, very heartbroken by getting this message. And the reason is because they tried a lot of things and didn't work and declared themselves as either losers or Senish Bashir, the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't want me to succeed, whatever excuses they came up with. And I totally get them, why the human nature is to come up with excuses when you try a lot of things, it doesn't work. And of course, it's not easy. But if you go and you study successful people, if you go, you study mega successful people, you will almost always hear stories similar to that. How many times they tried it didn't work. And they kept trying, sometimes 1,000 times, sometimes a few thousand times, until something clicked in and it started working. So yes, from one side, I agree with you. Some people will be very disappointed, and some people, they're not going to be able to listen to our podcast, even to our shiurim, because they're going to think, you put me out of my comfort zone. I'm a comfortable meyizdige person. So what do you want from me? Let me stay like that and it worked. So many people. I used to joke, Reb Shulam, that I once had a guy was coming to me collecting for tzedukah. I still lived in New York, and he came to collect from tzedukah from Eretz Yisrael. And he came into my house, and he started talking about Amunah. And he was talking about, wow, Ayid needs to have such a strong Amunah. The Rebbeinu Shalom can help him in any matzav, in any way. So I asked the guy, jokingly, I asked him, so you think that a poor person who is poor for many, many years already, like in one split second, the Ribbon Shalom can help him? He says, yes, of course. Ribbon Shalom can help him, and he's going to get out of his aniyos. So I asked him, do you believe that a Jew has to feel that it will actually happen for him? He says, of course. Of course. You're a poor person. You should believe every minute that the Ribbon Shalom can help you in this minute. And you should not be a netzrich lebrios, and you should be able to support your own family. He kept talking a whole misidrush on Amona. Okay, so I say, I agree with you and I'm with you on the same page, but I want to ask you a question. You're here in America to collect money. When did you book your ticket? He says, about 3 months ago, I saw that the tickets are relatively cheap, so I booked the ticket. I knew that I want to come collect in 3 months. I asked him, why in the world did you book your ticket? If you really believe that Hashem can help you every day, 3 months in advance, how do you know you're still going to have to collect? How did you know that you're going to be in Nitzvah Librias 3 months ago? I don't understand. That's what I asked him. And, we were joking back and forth. And I don't know where I don't remember where the conversation went, but what I do remember is that it was perfectly in line with what we're talking. And again, I agree with you. Some people, it makes them heartbroken, but for the right person, sometimes all they need is this message, don't give up. And this is going to be the thing that's going to click with them. How many times? I think thousands of times, forever. You should always try. And not only that, as we discussed in the episode where we discussed that, you have so much more experience now than you had when you tried, unless you're really a loser. I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't have the koiches. And sometimes it's therapy that you need to be able to clean up some old messes that stands in the way. But I have no doubt in my mind, everybody can succeed be'ezer Hashem. Some people can't succeed because the Rebbeinu Shalom makes them having limiting belief. That's how the Rebbeinu Shalom gives them the recipe of not succeeding. But now that you're hearing this message, maybe Hashem decided, you know what, let's make Yankel succeed again, because the way I'm going to do it is by having him listen to this message. But and I ask forgiveness for anybody who feels that I take away their excuses, because that's exactly what I'm doing, because there are no excuses.
No, I think what you're saying is fantastic, and it resonates. As a matter of fact, the Torah set such a precedent. The Avos were all fantastically wealthy people. Hashem Berach as Avram Bako, Yitzchak, Yaakov, they all became very wealthy people. So really, the Rebbeinu Shalom is setting out in part of our Messiah that is something that we can be comfortable with. Obviously, we have to be responsible, and we have to treat Gashmias with the same Ruchnias perspective as we do Ruchnias itself. That's a given. But there's nothing wrong with, and as a matter of fact, if used properly, the Rebbeinu gave us Gashmias, it's there to also use as a means to be Avdei Hashem.
I just jump in just a second. If you think about it, you're talking about the Ovas HaKadoshim. Not only did they have wealth, look how many challenges they had before they got to it.
100%. That's why I'm saying, I think the Torah set a precedent that this is something it's all b'chdei sheyasa. The Torah doesn't say things that are not applicable to us. If the Torah is setting this as, who the Avos are and that we all have the ability to become like the Avos, then in all aspects we have that ability. So I think it's fantastic what you're saying. Let me ask you though, I just need to get clarity on this. I think everybody who's listening needs to get clarity. Are you suggesting that everybody has the potential to become as wealthy as an Elon Musk or as a Jeff Bezos? Is that the type of success that we're aiming for? I mean, what does it mean? You use the word success. I just think it's important that we all hear from you what that means. And my second question I want to ask you is, when we're aiming to achieve this success and we follow the moral of the story with the furniture, does that mean we should all now go out and buy ourselves a Rolls Royce or a Bentley? And just because I put myself in that kind of debt, now I know that I'm going to have to work hard to pay it off? Is that what you're saying? Or I just would like a bit more clarity. I think everyone's listening would like a bit more clarity as we move forward to just understand the parameters.
100%. I'm so glad you're bringing this up. And it's absolutely not what I meant. I'm not talking about wealth becoming a millionaire, a billionaire, a gazillionaire. That's not my point. Every person listening to this has a different definition of success. I have my definition for success. You have your definition of success, and everybody has. For some people, it's wealth. For some people, it's a comfortable life to be able to cover their expenses. For some people, it's having a certain type of a house. For some people, it's a certain type of family. For some people, it's a certain type of business, certain type of occupation. For everybody, it means something else. Now, whatever the Ribono Shel Olam has put in your brain that it should mean for you, that's what you have to go for, because that's what the Ribono Shel Olam gave you an idea what you should be aiming for. Now, some people who tried many things and it didn't work out, I bet that many of the things they tried is because they tried to be somebody else. They didn't try to be what they really were meant and put on this earth to do. They tried to copy somebody like you just mentioned, Elon Musk. Wow, I get so inspired. Elon Musk became the richest man in the world. I can also do it. Let me go for it. And then you flop because this is not what you're meant to do, and this is not what you're trying to copy somebody. For
Wow.
somebody who really has his own definition of success and he knows it's him, not influenced by others, because it's so hard. It's so hard. You daven in a certain shul, you go to a certain type of simcha, you're sitting with your family, you're sitting with certain type of friends, and then you get influenced. And then you think, oh, I tried and I didn't get it. Of course you didn't get it because you tried to live somebody else's life.
Wow. That's a really such an crucial clarity that you just made, and I think everyone who's listening is going to appreciate that.
I tell you one more thing. I think I once heard from Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is one of the first motivational speakers. He said that you are an average of your 5 closest people to you. So that means if I want to know who you are, you don't have to tell me anything about you. Just tell me who your 5 closest people are, and I'm going to know who you are.
Hmm.
So sometimes people have a certain type of life, a certain type of success or a lack of success, and it's not their fault. It's just because the 5 closest people to them. Could be your
Right.
wife, could be your parents. You could have a tremendous relationship with your parents, but you don't have to discuss with your parents money if that's not their strong point. If you want to be financially successful, and every time you speak to your father, he puts you back into a poor mindset. Okay, you can keep speaking to him about everything else, but when it comes to money, get different friends. Everybody should focus the people around them that have the certain level of success where they want to be. Otherwise, it's poison.
I think that's such a crucial point. And if I could just ask if you would agree that to the recommendation that part of this process of developing financial stability is spending some time on really getting to know yourself, is spending some time doing some self-reflection and really clarifying what are your core values, really what do you value in life? What do you want to gain out of having money? Just as important as spending time on creating the budget and everything else that's financial. But you've said this before, this is a lifestyle change. It's not just about creating a budget. It's about, finances is really a reflection of, your life in general. And therefore, tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like it would be worthwhile to recommend to people that everyone needs to spend some time just getting to know ourselves and do some self-reflection and make sure that our financial goals are aligned with our life goals.
100%. I tell you even more. Most people never spend even a minute in the day by themselves. They're always surrounded with others. They go to a simcha, they can't go because before they make a phone call to the friend, when are you arriving? Let's go in together. It's human nature. We like to be surrounded with others, with good friends, with good people. It's a beautiful thing. But because of that, we spend so little time with ourselves. So if a person can make it his business, Reb Nachman calls this as boidedus. Some certain cultures, there is meditation, but whatever you call it, you spend time with yourself and you really try to tune into yourself. Who am I? And try to think about your activities during the day. What is it that when I do, I love it, I look forward? I can tell you, Reb Shulam, that when I sit down and I write, I only figured it out a few months ago. It's so interesting because I wrote my first book back like 5, 6 years ago. I hired the ghostwriter, and now I'm writing my books myself, my emails myself, and I have some help with AI, I'll admit, but still, I love it. I'm sitting down to write. I need so much discipline to get myself to write, but only to sit down. Once I sit down, I can't get up. I love it. I keep writing, and the more I write, the more value comes out, the more good content comes out. And sometimes I think that when I sit down, what am I going to write today? But I made it my business because I know it's important. I know it's my passion. And I know that everything I write down is going to be ledoida doidas. wherever I tell somebody, I spend a phone call with somebody, it's going to be like maybe I help somebody, but that's it. But if I write it, I can help thousands of people, including my grandchildren, including my great grandchildren. They're going to see, oh, wow, we had a Zayda. His name was Chaim Ekstein. And look what he wrote. It's going to help them. They're going to feel good. They're going to feel proud. I like the idea. And then stuff comes out. That's why, when I look back, I hired the ghostwriter back then because I thought I'm not a writer. I didn't know I am a writer. My point is that so many times we don't know our qualities, our capabilities, our passion, our personality, just because we don't spend enough time with us. And I'm going back to your first question. By what point should the person give up? If I would have given up on writing, I would not write myself. So I think I write pretty good stuff. I have not have written it
Right.
because I didn't know that. And it took me, I don't know, I'm in the workplace, probably 25 plus years, and never occurred to me, maybe one day I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to find out. I don't know what. Be ready for surprises, because if you really tune into yourself, I'm talking about really, really, it's worth for you to have every day an hour of self-reflection, of meditation, is voidus, be with yourself and Hashem. That's it. Do it for many, many years, because maybe after many years you're going to find that.
Wow. Okay, and if I could also just point out, not everyone has got many, many years when they're facing making changes in their careers or within their lifestyle, their home. There are assessments, and there are people who know how to administer these assessments, and people who really know how to kickstart this process. By no means am I suggesting that the assessment replaces hisbodedus or replaces self-reflection, but there are tools out there that helps kickstart the process. And there are people out there who know how to, to really kind of facilitate that process. So I would just suggest, if you agree, to the listeners, that are people to seek out that can help move this along, at least for the short term. Like you said, like I said, and like you said, nothing replaces true, honest self-reflection. There are ways to kind of kickstart the process to get things moving along.
Yes, and I know that you are an expert in this, and you are one of the people who do such things. And I think if somebody is interested, it could be very worthwhile to have a meeting with Reb Sholom. And we were talking also, I mean, I don't have any information yet. We were talking about maybe we'll do a program together to help
Yeah,
people really.
that's coming soon.
It's coming soon, Bezrat Hashem. Yeah. But I'll tell you, even after you do this process, you do the self-assessment, even if you know everything that you have to know about yourself, sometimes people are in a prison of comfort because it's so comfortable where they are. Some people would rather want to be able to tell you, I don't know, than to tell you I'm lazy or I don't have guts. So after you already know the most you can know about yourself, you still need to be very intentional. And of course, you have to be responsible. You have a family, you have to support your family. You don't just go from one minute to the other. I leave my income behind and I go because Chaim Ekstein and Sholom Friedmann had a good podcast. It doesn't work like this. But at least be intentional. Think about it every day, because I write in my book that the second that you find your real passion, I can really honestly consider it you found a fortune. And not a fortune because you're going to be happy. I'm talking about a fortune in the literate meaning of a fortune, because you have unlimited potential once you find your passion.
Fantastic. Okay. I think you've addressed my questions and concerns. I think it's time to move forward. Let's hear what else you have to say.
I didn't think the conversation was going to be that long about it. So I think I wanted to address a question that somebody sent in. I think I'll leave it to next week's episode. In the meantime, anything else you wanted to add for this episode?
I just felt that this was really important to get this clarity. I think, you've laid out a lot of fundamental ideas, and, I just wanted, for my own personal sake, and I think for everyone who's listening, to get some clarity to make sure that we're all on the same page and we understand the parameters.
Well, I think it's a contributor to Albert Einstein that the definition of insanity. I believe it's
remember you
doing
said
doing
something
doing
like
the same thing all over and
that. Oh,
over
right.
again,
That's right. Right. That's
expecting
right.
different results. Okay.
Right.
Now, Ahivi Yedidi, let me ask you a question. You really expect that the same things you did for the last who knows how many years, and it didn't work, is going to get you to where you want to get?
I mean, do I really think things are going to change? Is that what you're asking?
I'm not saying you. I'm talking you, the listener. Does the
Okay, but I'm
listener
saying,
really believe that whatever whatever they did in the last few years and it didn't work. You started with a question, somebody tried so many times, it didn't work. You really believe that the same idea, the same activity, the same strategy will take you to where you want to go? So if you believe so, according to Einstein, this is insanity. So you need a different strategy. What is the different strategy that you need? I think the first strategy you need is to sit down with a notebook and write down everything you tried, and then start writing down why the different things didn't work. I promise you, you're going to come up with some amazing answers, amazing ideas, including persistence. Maybe you were not persistent enough. I can tell you about myself, different things that I started to do over the years, and it didn't succeed with me. And I admit 100% that the reason I didn't succeed is because of the lack of persistence. I know it 100%. I'm looking back now, so many people who did the same exact thing that I did, but they were persistent and they succeeded, but I didn't succeed because I gave up too quickly. And I have no doubt that most people who try, a lot of people didn't even try anything. So for them, it's very clear, just start trying something. But for
Right.
anybody who tried something, who tried many things and it didn't work, I can tell you most probably the number one reason was persistence. And then try to think about decision making. You know how many people are so afraid of making a decision? They can't make a decision because maybe they're going to be wrong. You know who is never wrong? Somebody who never makes a decision. So you make decisions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Out of 100 things that you try, maybe 5 things will stick and you're going to succeed with it. And that's going to be the thing that's going to take you to where, to dreamland, where you want to be. So
Right.
Napoleon Hill has a book, Think and Grow Rich. I'm sure you read it, and I'm sure a lot of people read it. And he has a whole chapter on decision. Bob Proctor told me for 40 days, I don't know where he took the 40 days from, maybe somewhere in Judaism, but for 40 days, I want you to read out loud every day the chapter on decision and Think and Grow Rich. I know it by heart, chapter on decision. And I know a lot of people, including myself, sometimes, and many, many years going back, it was more than once, and probably most of the time, that I was afraid to make decisions, and I didn't make the decisions. Now, I tell you again, Sholem, before we finish this, I want to say again, because it's so important to ingrain it, especially when we talk to Orthodox Jews. It's so important. The path of least resistance for us is to say it's Bashir. This is what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. So now I have every excuse or permission in the world to give up. It's Bashir. What do you want? Blah, 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 But it's not true. It's not true. Of course it's Bashir, but it's Bashir also that when the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to give you Atzlocha, it gives it to you this way, by igniting you, sending some shlichim to ignite you, put some fire under your chair and help you jump out of your chair and go do something. Because as long as the light burns, you can still do something. And this is what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants from you. Not to sit back and relax and don't accomplish anything because it's Bashir.
Right. Do we have one more moment?
Yeah, sure.
So I'll share with you just a thought on what you're saying, which I think fits very nicely into what you're getting at. We have such a gift. We have such a matana being Yidden, that we're in an environment and in a culture that really provides all the strength and the chizuk that we need. There was a study that was done a few decades ago, not well known, maybe in the psychology world, but it is so relevant to this discussion and to Yiddishkeit. There's studies done in what traits does a person need in the background to really be able to fuel all the things you're mentioning, persistence and drive and passion. What are the traits that a person needs to really focus on in order to be able to do that in a Lemaisidic manner? So there's an acronym for the HERO acronym. HERO stands for hope, efficacy, which is self-confidence, R is resilience, and O is optimism. That was studied and proven that those four traits are traits that if a person focuses on developing them internally, everything else that you're mentioning is an outcome of that. Yiddishkeit is all about developing those four traits. Just look at David HaMelech. Kavi El Hashem. It's all about hope. There's self-confidence. I mean, what the Torah is only about self-confidence, resilience. I mean, our entire history. We're only here today talking because Klal Yisrael is a resilient people. And optimism, we're always looking at Gamzu L'Taiva. Everything we know is at the end of the day good from the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're in an environment and a culture that we're surrounded by this. If we just tap into these resources, Chaim, I think what you're recommending, we are so far ahead of the game because the tools are right there. We just have to appreciate and tap into them. We have such a matana being Yidden and being part of this culture. We're so far ahead of the game. That's all I wanted to say to just
Very
kind
well
of
said.
get into what you're saying.
Very well said. You know, I once heard from Reb Noach Weinberg, you're gonna learn it from Aisha Torah. He said that he loves to deal with from people rather with Balat Tshuva. He was, making a lot of Balat Tshuva, and he said, I love to deal with the FFB, with the from birth people, because these people, 90% is good. I just have to give them 10%. The problem is I have to give them the first 10. But once I give them the first 10, off they go. So it's the same thing as you said. They have everything it takes. They just have to give them the foundation, and off they go and finish. That's it. Yeah, I would just want to add one more thing, Reb Shulam, that people sometimes get disappointed. I speak and nobody challenges me. So I can speak and they think on the phone or on YouTube or on the podcast, wherever they listen to it, and they, I would want to ask Chaim now this, how do you say this? It's such a gift for me that I have somebody like you challenging. So this way we can go back and forth and we can really come out clear on the subject by Hashem. So this is going to be the end for today, and see you next week. Bezrat Hashem. Kol tov.
Looking forward.
Git Gelt, the wisdom for your well.